with this horrible tragedy, with the death of Takeoff, we have seen video, we've seen a lot of images of what happened at 2:30 in the morning in Houston yesterday, but now the police seem to be honing in on some images on this new video that we got that they say shows a person of interest in this shooting.
An armed man standing right there in the crowd with Takeoff and Quavo as a discussion is going down, a heated discussion between Quavo and some other unknown men who are there. Takeoff is what you're about to see and hear. Takeoff is standing a couple of feet behind Quavo, but pay attention to, there's a man dressed in black as the conversation is going on, and that man has his hand on a gun.
They know y'all, but they're not going to be disrespectful like that. But they have to be disrespectful. Basketball, bro. Tell me I won't go play basketball. I just saw me play basketball in the gym. Play like that, bro. Don't play like that, bro. Let go. I ain't go back and forth, bro. I've been hurt somebody, bro.
Oh, what are you doing? No, hell no.
So the police want to find this guy. Right. He is a person of interest. And you see, you know, even before the argument escalates to a high pitch, his hand is right on that gun.
He was on the gun the whole time. And then you saw Quavo in the orange shirt walk by once the discussion was over. And it was 2 seconds after Quavo walks past the camera, that the first shot is fired. Now, again, we said the police want to speak to this man as a person of interest. There's nothing that we've seen in the video. Now, you do see him raise the weapon at that point, but we can't say that he for sure fired the first shot.
We just don't see it.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can't see also, too, if he did fire any shots, where his shots landed, if this was the gun that possibly killed Takeoff, because it seems like he was almost shooting in their defense because he's kind of going the same way that we had saw them go as well, too. Another interesting point here in this video is that you hear Quavo somewhat like saying like, look, I'm leaving, like I'm over this. Like he says, like, come on, let's go. Like it's like he was trying to like get away from whatever was going on and not add to it. That was a very interesting point as well, too.
Yeah, it definitely did not sound like he was trying to escalate things. It was more like, hey, you know, his tone seemed to be, we're moving on. This is not what it's about. And you heard him saying something about basketball. I wish we haven't spoken to anyone who was there to give us any more information about what that was, why basketball came up. We know that Quavo plays basketball, is really good. I don't know if someone was challenging him or something, but he wasn't having it and just wanted to walk away. And then the shots started flying.
But how much more angry every video we get, guys, and the more info that we kind of learn and the conversations we hear that were had, and we see Quavo walking away, that this was gunfire, and this resorted to
that it had to get to that.
That it had to get to that over some silly argument, and people just start blindly firing guns in a crowd. I don't know, there was what, 30 people around there, people who weren't even involved, and you're just randomly firing a gun. I mean, it's sickening, it's angering, and he should still be alive.
That's Brad, exactly what you said is what the head of quality control, the label, Pierre Thomas, he posted something last night, a message that was mostly directed toward Takeoff, just saying how much he loved him and he wanted people to understand the value of life. He wanted fans, he wanted hip-hop in general to remember that you don't have to resort to violence when things get heated, because it's very clear from everything we've seen.
Heated over seemingly nothing. I mean, that's just, it's so stunning. I mean, what Brad said is so right, that there are all these people there, and to pull out a gun and then to whoever fired, because when you you listen, it sounds like there's more than one gun going off at the same time. So there may be multiple shootings going on,
a shootout going on,
and that it looks like Takeoff may have been hit in the crossfire. It's unclear. But you know, one of the things I was thinking of, and I've got to think this through because it just struck me as I watched it. There's something in the law called felony murder, that if you commit a felony, which would certainly be shooting a gun,
right? Even if your bullet isn't the one that kills Takeoff.
The classic case is a bank robber where the getaway driver is outside the bank, but the person who that person is with goes inside and shoots somebody. The getaway driver is also going to be charged with murder, felony murder, because it is a murder committed in the commission of a felony.
Right.
I'm thinking this through, excuse me, literally, as we're watching this, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to prove that bullet is the one that hit Takeoff.
Right.
If that person was firing.
If you look at this, so what you're saying is basically in this situation where clearly there was no reason that we can see or hear for someone to take out a gun and fire
There
a
wasn't.
weapon.
I mean, the only way
whoever fired that first shot, whether or not it hit anybody, could be charged potentially with felony murder.
I apologize. I'm thinking this through as I watched it, but it just struck me that way. I mean, are they ever going to find this gun? I don't know. But, you know, these are tough cases in that sense. But
by the way, we should mention that aside from the videos that we've obtained, we're fairly certain the police also have surveillance videos.
It's a fairly new complex,
from this complex.
We're sure that they're going to have multiple angles, and that is going to help them figure out what happened here.
And quality control as a label, guys, too. So P had a statement, but quality control, too. They released a statement that said, and it mentioned in there that Takeoff was hit by a stray bullet. So that led me to believe that maybe police or someone is starting to figure out a little bit more here, because at one point we couldn't figure out what was intentional, what wasn't.
Right.
Well, I think that it goes to the point, stray bullet, meaning we have video of Takeoff standing right there next to Quavo. Takeoff is not involved in this argument. You don't see him talk. You don't see him getting into it with anybody. So I think stray bullet, he was an innocent bystander in this thing.
Yeah, all the more tragic.
My name is DJ K-Dub from Long Island, New York. And first off, I would like to say my condolences to Quality Control, Takeoff's family, and the rest of Migos. And I feel for Quavo, too, because that bullet could have been meant for him. So, you know, it's just very tragic. You know, Takeoff was such an innocent man, and, you know, he's for the culture. Migos is for the culture, and it's just really sad. And I hope they do find the shooter. I hope somebody comes forward. You took an innocent man's life, and, you know, we just want somebody to be held accountable for the tragic death of this person.
You know, I have to say that there's no circumstance where you would understand it, but the fact that it was such a trivial, nothing thing is just, I don't know why it makes it even worse. It's just, it's hard to process that.
Yeah.
It is hard to process.